Hey guys, and welcome to the first development progress of what I call Project FreeFall. Now, this Project FreeFall aims to be real-time, squad-based tactical game. It's heavily inspired from Fallout Tactics. Let's just run it here for a little bit. If you've played Fallout Tactics back in the day, this this map might be a bit familiar to you, kind of like a Minecraft untextured version of the first map in Fallout Tactics. Of course, the plan is to add realistic assets as development progresses. But first we need to make sure that the combat systems and all that are in place. When I first started this project, I initially went for the tile-based approach. Just like in Fallout Tactics, you have those little square tiles, and every action revolves around a tile-based or a hex-based in older Fallout games. I have done quite a few years ago Fallout 2 prototype, which used hex systems. I wasn't too happy with all those complex maths, or at least for me, complex maths, to decide different things based on hexagonal positions and all that. So for this instance, the FreeFall project did away with tiles and hexes and whatnot. So it's just real position of objects with physical interactions. And there are a few good things with that, is that I can use the built-in Unity pathfinding tools, for better or for worse. But there are also some issues with this, whereas in hex-based or tile-based, it's very easy to compute line of sight. So, for example, what your squad mates can see or cannot see, and what's blocked by objects. In this approach, you actually need to fire rays from each of the actors' eyes, and that can be computationally expensive. Luckily, when I first started this this prototype, if you want to call it, Unity just came out with the then new C# job system, which allows you to fire rays on multiple threads, and that's basically what's happening right now in here. So let's just go to the scene view, and what I did is actually drawn out the rays that are being fired, and what you see as green is can see or has line of sight to, and red is cannot see. This works pretty well. Let's just put the scene over here to have a side-by-side comparison. So let's select one of these guys and move him around. And you can check the lines as he's passing through obstacles, or turning either red or green based on line of sight. And this is useful because we use this to check if any of your teammates can see enemies, and the enemies as well, they can check if they see your guys, up to the point where you cannot see anybody, you can just they're just gonna fade away, which is pretty nifty. So the way this is working is it's firing these asynchronous jobs, these raycasts. The frame isn't actually waiting for those things to finish, so it's kind of like a best effort. So in case you have a lot of people doing a lot of stuff, or a slow computer, it might always be using stale data, especially if those people are moving a lot in the scene. But I think for most of these purposes, it should do the job okay. One of the added benefits of having this little system continuously trudging away in the background is once it computes these ray fires, it also saves distance data between all of the actors in all of the teams, so that it just dumps them into a matrix, an array, a two-dimensional array, and that's very useful to do target acquisition. So in the what basic AI loop I have right here is they're basically searching for the closest enemy actor that they can see, and that's their target. And if obviously if they can't see anybody, they're not gonna shoot. That's why it's silent right now, but if I pop my head out, he's immediately gonna start shooting. Now this is, bear in mind, this is just basic, from very basic AI. So that's pretty interesting. So right now, this is sort of like an optimization pass that I did. The way that it works right now is it fires, I think, 6 rays from the head of each actor, and they're going through specific body parts of each of the targets. So left hand, right hand, torso, head, left leg, and right leg. And if any of those intersect with that target, it's going to be marked as seen, and it's no longer going to process the other ones. But this could be expanded at some point with interesting results. So for example, that matrix that is being built up could be expanded to show if it can see the target's left arm, right arm, head, torso, legs, etc. And that could have some interesting mechanical benefits to cover and elevation. So for example, if your enemy is behind cover, you can potentially only see the head and maybe the left and the right arms. And you could get something like a chance to hit penalty, because you can only see only parts of the limbs, whereas the guy that is standing behind cover probably has you in full view, so he gets no penalties. So that would be an interesting application of that moving forward. Another interesting thing that I wanted to try out, as opposed to the way it was done in Fallout Tactics, is when somebody misses, I'm gonna fire a ray from that person's rifle, a fudged ray, to see if it intersects with any of the scenery, and if it does, it's gonna make a little splash at that point. So obviously those are to be tweaked, but it's an interesting effect nonetheless. Another interesting application, so because this is 3D, I was able to utilize Final IK to allow moving and getting hit, whereas in Fallout Tactics you would be limited to stop frame, so stop moving when he was being hit, to be able to draw the being hit sprites and then continue moving on. And moving forward with this Final IK adaptation, I had a little project over here that I worked on some time ago. Let's just stop this for the moment and go into this one. So this is always also using Final IK, and it's allowing the character to have 360 degrees freedom of movement. So this is going to be pretty interesting if we're going to want to set up some kind of run and gun scenarios. So for example, either you're trying to gain position or you're trying to fall back. You could order your guys to also shoot as they're moving, which is also an interesting tactical decision, if you will. And it's also gonna, at some point, allow one of the things that I really wanted to have in Fallout Tactics is if you're feeling pretty overpowered, let's say, you can just order your guys to go into a room in full power armor and heavy machine guns and just slowly walk and shoot every single enemy in there. So that would be just like a cool thing to see. But I would say the most important thing that I would want to add as a functionality to this game would be to have an active pause feature where you can issue commands to your squad mates, including the possibility to have things like command queuing. So I could tell this guy, for example, to first go prone and then go to this little part over here and then go to here and then stand up and start firing on whoever's over there. And another interesting thing that I'll have to see how it works in practice. So in my mind, theoretically, it sounds good. Let's just say that I issued those commands to the first guy over here. The second guy could do something similar on the left flank. And at some point, you could say something like synchronize with this guy. And then when they both reach this point, they're going to wait. If this guy on the left reaches the point first, he's going to be waiting for the guy on the right. And then when they're both in position, they're going to continue their actions. So get up and start shooting. So pretty interesting to set up ambushes and stuff like that in this scenario, which would have been almost impossible in Fallout Tactics in the real-time or the continuous turn-based mode of it. So that's also a pretty interesting avenue. So obviously, it's still in very, very early stages. They do have stats, and the chance to hit is being computed pretty realistically based on what I could scrunch up on the Fallout wiki pages. But yeah, the plan is to have a fully functional combat system, inventory, ammo, and all that, including realistic damage based on those golden rules, and then start to either build or buy, most likely buy, assets that will slowly start filling up this first mission. And then from that point on, move on and recreate other missions and maybe new missions altogether. Now, there are some limitations on the way that I started work on this. So the way it stands right now, it's probably not going to be very easy to create your own custom maps, and modding is going to be a bit tricky to do. So those are things that are going to be tackled quite some time after all of these initial steps are being done. So I hope you guys like this. The game is hosted on itch.io, and I'm going to be including the link in the description. Please go there if you're interested. Download this version, such as it is. Play around with it. Give me some feedback. There's also a possibility to send me some small donations, and I'm going to be using those funds to further advance development on this, mostly probably related to buying of assets, which, as you can see right now, it desperately needs. So thank you guys for watching. See you next time.